Hello, everyone. Warm welcome. We'll be starting this webinar in 2 minutes, so give everybody some time to join in. All right, we are dot on the hour here, so we'll get started. Welcome to the webinar titled Incentivizing Partners the Cisco Way. Cisco has been an innovator in the incentive space, and we are delighted to welcome Cisco and Presidio into this conversation. So joining today is a number of companies. Actually, we are so delighted to see this response. We have over 300 participants, register, and hopefully hundreds joining. So warm welcome to each one of you. Here is some tips from us to make this session engaging. In addition to this being a webinar where speakers speak and I host this thing, we also have networking between you guys. So this is a community of people getting together. We are all in this ecosystem movement together. So I welcome you all to add your photo. Take some time, introduce yourself. This is a time to get to know each other as well, especially because tech is such a strong community. We all work with one another. And this is your opportunity to network and make some new friends as well. Do say who you are, where are you from, and what your role is, so that other people can as well speak to you. Use the chat feature here. You can also use LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube for your comments. One of the things we've done with our webinars more recently is create the community and engagement so that we can get more people engaged in this conversation. And please ask away questions. We have moderation available. So as you ask questions, as they come to you, please pipe them in. We will flag them and we will ask Dave and Matt, our speakers, those questions as well. With that, couple of other reminders. As you know, WorkSpan publishes a lot of thought leadership articles, white papers, as well as points of view. We have an ebook around partner co-selling. As you know, as we go to the cloud, co-selling between ISVs and hyperscalers, or ISVs and services partners, or tech companies and resellers, this has become a key movement in the industry. So there is a ebook on that. There's an ebook on cloud providers and co-selling. There's an ebook on ecosystem maturity model that also covers incentives as well. So there are three wonderful assets in front of you to kind of take and benchmark yourself against where the state of the art is. With that, let me quickly introduce the panelists, and I'd love for them to also speak and introduce themselves. So we've been working with Cisco and Presidio in particular for a while now. WorkSpan went live with its Cisco Funds app last year. And very delighted to welcome Program Manager for Lifecycle Incentives Worldwide, Dave Scolini from Cisco, and Matt Rem from Presidio. And with that, I invite Dave first to introduce yourself, and then Matt, if you could follow on.
Yeah, thanks, Amit, and thanks for having me. My name is Dave Scolini. I am part of Cisco Systems. Specifically, I'm responsible for our global strategy related to a program we have called Lifecycle Incentives. It's about a 6-year-old program, maybe 7 years at this point, where we reward partners for driving lifecycle around our software solutions. And one of the key things that I focus on every day is trying to make Matt happy. Over to you, Matt.
I appreciate it, bud. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, everybody who's joining. Matt Ream, I work for Presidio Incorporated, an absolutely amazing company, a global Cisco partner and a leader in delivering enterprise agreements, Cisco software technologies, and these new emerging technologies into our customers. At Presidio, I'm responsible for our customer experience practice, which has many arms and tentacles into every piece of the business that we've learned. We're a hub, a control that really helps drive experiences from the beginning to end and then continued in that renewal motion. With those amazing experiences, I've been here for Presidio for 20 years now. And in that 20 years, I have had the opportunity being tied to Cisco, working very closely and seen the good, the bad, and the ugly with Mr. Scalini as we've hit this journey. But I couldn't be more happy to be where we are today as the evolution of the amazing solutions we're able to deliver to our customers, the ease at which we're able to do that with Cisco software and this new subscription delivery model, and then the reward and monetization we're able to take from the lifecycle program that Dave manages. So it's been an amazing journey to get here, and looking forward to the future as well.
Yeah, welcome again, Dave and Matt. Fantastic backgrounds and deep expertise in the topics that you have. We'll talk about Cisco and Presidio first, then talk about your overall partner program strategy, and then dive into lifecycle incentives. So, Dave, starting with you first. Cisco, fabulous company, Forbes #1 company to work for, and a massive transition to the cloud with as a service. Can you describe what the larger Cisco strategy and time in the market now looks like?
Yeah, thanks, Amit. This has been a journey we've been on for a long time. If you stop and think about Cisco going back about 8 years ago, we sold a lot of software, but it was really embedded with our hardware. And as we started to evolve, trying to make our business different, allow for portability of software, allow for customers to buy differently around enterprise agreements, shifting to different ways in which partners wanted to sell and customers wanted to buy, moving from kind of a CapEx model to more of a monthly recurring model. We've gone through a lot of transition. And, one of the things that's always very difficult is, tools that had been built around, our business model at the time, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and what we needed them to be is a pretty massive transformation. So I do appreciate the question because Cisco's actually made quite a bit of investment around not only our overall software strategy, but platforms that I'm going to briefly describe for you. When we think about our overall Cisco strategy around software, it's really all about customer success and driving adoption as a focus, right? Now, driving adoption, if I think about when we were on this journey or starting this journey 8 years ago, there was not a lot out there. When you Googled adoption, aside from acquiring, growth in your family, there wasn't all that much in terms of software, right? Customer success managers were not really a thing. And Cisco, I think, was at the leading edge of that, candidly. I think we built capabilities that were before our time, before we were really ready. But when we think about all the investments we've made, one of the things that I really want to start with, and we'll drill down into how great WorkSpan's been in terms of helping us specifically with the program and how that works in the broader construct, it's important that we start with PXP. So what PXP is an investment we've made. It stands for Partner Experience Platform. The vision of PXP is to deliver an industry-leading partner relationship management experience. We really wanted to put together a holistic end-to-end view with goals for our partners on how they can mobilize their strategy, how they execute, looking at profitability and gaining key insights on how they can really drive their business. So PXP is really the overall tool to help with that experience. And what we really like about PXP is that we really sat down and tried to talk to our partners about all the disparate tools we had at the time, some of which were homegrown, really related to maybe tools that were built by a business entity, say collaboration, say data center, all of these kind of siloed tools that were being built. We really wanted to hear from our partners about what experience they want to drive. PXP has been really over 75% of what we have designed and implemented has been based on feedback from partners and input from them. As a result, we retired about 50% of the tools that we had that were legacy, integrate that into the new PXP platform. And I think it's important to note that we've really not lifted and shifted, platforms. We've really lifted, shifted, and improved and evolved with the goal to simplify, improve, and making it more impactful, as I mentioned, with data-driven and actionable insights around their business. Over the last 6 to 9 months, Amit, you might be interested to learn that we now have about 125,000 users using PXP, and we're hearing that the experience is a significant impact to their partner brand as they work with customers. We believe, and we're hearing, the PXP brand is a best-in-breed technology under one unified experience and data architecture. We partnered, as mentioned, heavily with WorkSpan to help, co-develop, co-invest, and co-market and co-sell, Amit, which you were mentioning in your earlier part. Now, so I think it's really important to understand where we are with our overall PXP strategy and where the lifecycle incentives really fits into that. So as we evolve the conversation, I'm happy to now drill into how WorkSpan's helped us co-develop and execute around what we call Funds Manager, the platform within PXP that is all around helping people like Matt get the most out of our incentives.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave, for that. So amazing strategy in terms of Cisco moving to as a service and cloud, importance of adoption of CX. Within that, partner experience platform is a game-changing way in which partners are experiencing and getting new value. And it's not just lift and shift, but addition of key capabilities like Cisco Partner Funds, where WorkSpan is part of that and driving new experience for people like Matt. Matt, I want to hand you the floor for a second. Talk a little bit about the unique time in which Presidio is in today and what your strategy around partnering, especially with Cisco, looks like.
Yeah, I mean, Dave had a great comment of in the beginning, it was an unwritten territory. I mean, that was probably one of the hardest things when we first started this. There wasn't a book, there wasn't a test, there wasn't a guideline. There was just a blank sheet of paper of how to take you as a Cisco partner and make the right investments and the right key changes to be successful within this new motion. And so blazing the trails from then to now has been quite the journey. We've seen a huge change in on how our customers are addressing software in this new subscription world. So with these amazing new enterprise agreements, that Cisco's put out, our customers have access to suites of emerging technologies that get to grow as the customer grows. And just that shift alone has seen massive, impact to our customer base and their desire to continue on with Cisco. So with that huge shift from Cisco going from perpetual software with maintenance to variable software subscription, we as partners had to make a pretty large change as well. One of the things that I talk to Dave about frequently is this digital transformation that our customers, this journey that they are going into the subscription world, has been massively impactful. I would almost say that us and partners, and any partners on the call, the transformation we've had to go through internally has been a massive transition. So building a lifecycle approach to manage our customers' experience with these new agreements took a big investment in people, process, and tools. And really, Dave's hard work in building out the lifecycle incentive program and evolving it with us and helping teach us and blazing that trail and building that road as we go has had a huge enabler for Presidio to build this practice several years ago. Without this incentive, without this additional assistance from Cisco, and I completely agree with Dave, as they are far and wide one of the farthest along in this journey, in this new CX motion, I don't know that we've been able to build a practice at the speed at which we did without that. And then fast forward to today and the way that we've been able to align our practice with our customers' needs and align it with Cisco's programs, it's still a huge monetization of the program and our efforts here. And this latest enhancement to Funds Manager, which is, within the tool with WorkSpan, has added a much needed level of visibility that we didn't have before, and has allowed us to add a ton of automation and just taking as much human out as possible and limiting mistakes and getting to, these payment milestones faster, while we're just in our most important motion, which is taking care of our customers and delivering on their outcomes.
Fantastic, Matt. What a brilliant strategy and execution, changing from being transactional to actually owning the customer across the entire life cycle and making those critical decisions to change people, process, and systems, but also work with partners like Cisco to take them along this journey. Certainly, it takes two to tango, and you guys have kind of done that. Dave, I wanted to kind of harken back to, you have been a visionary and innovator in the space. You've kind of started even when tools and systems were not ready. Can you briefly tell us about what does Cisco Lifecycle Incentives really mean to you?
Yeah.
And describe a little bit of the early journey that you went through without us.
Well, first of all, I want to compliment Presidio because they were involved with this before we even formally thought about building out a program called Lifecycle Incentives. We had dabbled in this for a while, largely out of our collaboration business with Origins and WebEx. Now, what I think, harkening back using your term 8 years ago, one of the things that we realized at the time was that we have a lot of world-class programs that rewarded partners for selling something when they landed the deal. But we had no programs really around capitalizing, making sure that that solution was driving an ROI and value. And as we looked at where we wanted to go with software, again, mentioning how customers wanted to buy, how partners wanted to sell, how they wanted to consume, it was very clear to us that partners that were going to continue to evolve in this business, they needed to build practice capabilities, the typical people process tools, in order to really sell and serve clients after they sold the deal. Gone would be the days of you landing a deal. Okay, I'll see you in 18 months when it's time to upgrade and refresh. Who's talking to your client in the meantime? Someone will. So we realized very quickly that partners were going to need to invest in capabilities, and we as a company would need to invest in capabilities to really drive that engagement on a regular basis with customers. Having those long gaps between really when a partner really sold something to a client was not sustainable, was not the right model that we needed to have as a company. So we looked very hard internally, and we realized that we need partners to make the investment. Well, how are they going to do that? We're going to need to motivate them to do it, probably through an incentive. But we're also going to need to recognize their investment. And when you're incubating a program, when you're building something out, it's really hard to go from a pilot, if you will, or something you're trying to do into kind of a mainstream, what I call the big tent of Cisco, where you've got it into a full-fledged specialization. As you guys know, Cisco's got long-term programs like VIP and world-class programs around how we recognize partners and specializations. So when we incubated this program, it was largely to do two things. One, motivate the partner on why they need to care, and therefore invest in people, process, tools, capabilities to actually sell and serve their clients differently. And then the second part of it was reward them for performing. That is kind of the origin of how we started the program. Now, what are we doing to reward them, right? Like I had mentioned, this was not Cisco's got a lot of great programs around rewarding you for when you sell something. We had very big gaps around selling, serving, and driving value of the client's investment after they sold it, right? So really what the Lifecycle Incentives program is about is to reward partners for actually turning on, activating, scaling the activation and use of the technology within the client production environment. The second part of incenting the partners, not only doing that, which is critical, but also really getting partners to early on articulate with the client, what do they buy? Why do they care about it? What does success look like? And building really a strategy, a plan, and really importantly, who's doing what where to achieve that, And that's really where I think Presidio has done a great job building their practice, is really kind of that early alignment landing the deal correctly, identifying why the client cares. If they don't know what they bought, right? That difference between dealing with IT versus line of business, the people that actually funded the project, what are they looking to achieve? They talk differently than what IT people are looking to achieve. Breaking that glass ceiling, getting to that group of people to make sure that investment has been realized, that return was realized, the client achieved what they're looking to achieve, which is going to really continue to help you expand, grow, and retain the business when it comes time to renew. So the lifecycle incentives program is all about rewarding after the deal, doing all the things that clients expect that also will result in growth for the partner and then retaining the business that is important for all of us. That in a nutshell is what the lifecycle incentives is about, and kind of how we started it and how we've evolved it.
Fantastic. So Dave, to summarize what you're thinking is, 8 years ago, you started on this journey. Early, and Matt and Presidio were early co-innovators with you. I want to hear Matt's perspective. How were the early days like, Matt, for you?
There was a little uphill, but it was a change in mindset. Was probably one of the most difficult things to do here. We started this journey as box driven, right? We, as a company, as sellers, as individuals on the street, everyone has all our sales team have amazing engagements with our customers. They understand, they're always driving into what they need, why they need it, how it's going to work. But when we went to procure it, we procured it like a box. Well, when the boxes went away and now the subscriptions are here, it opened up this amazing new opportunity for us. And the concept, what Dave just went through, was really hard in the beginning. So we're used to those award-winning programs that Dave was talking about with the value incentive program, other bet programs back into the company based upon us. We sold your boxes, give us money. And that worked really, really well. And that worked in our muscle memory, worked with our lives. We knew what to do with it. Now we have to figure out how to utilize this new thing that I always call the Popeye model, which is, hey, I'll pay you tomorrow for a cheeseburger today. Oh, we have to do some things now to get to that reward. And that took a long time to implement. That took a long time to get someone past, well, what happens if it doesn't happen? Do we just not get paid and we did the work? That could happen. It was a risk. And it took a while to get into our culture, but if I continue to do the right things with the customer and follow them along, never leave their side, constantly driving to those outcomes that they had defined, we talked about in bidding, and evolving with them as the outcomes change, I can continue to position the right pieces of software in this new non-box model, this always available subscription model with this wonderful umbrella of technology. I have all these suites that I can go after to follow the customer and meet those needs as they change and as they develop. Oh, and by the way, the business is now seeing, fast forward to today, as we do this, as they consume, as they upsell, as they drive more consumption and adoption to meet their outcomes, the customer to achieve their goals, we get paid more in the program. It's a gift that keeps on giving. So it took a while to get over making the monetization of LCI work for a partner. So like I said, there wasn't any books on how to do this. But as the practice developed, as our customers kept coming back to us, and as our CSM team that I'm extremely proud of is able to deliver these award-winning, just these amazing experiences for our customers, and constantly trying to position the right technologies and right softwares in front of our customers, maybe even before they know they need it, has paid off immensely for us.
What's really amazing, as Matt, as you spoke through, I got goosebumps because you really put the customer in the center of the relationship. You are really about that customer experience. And as my friend Norma talks about, partners are the customer experience. She has a wonderful book in this area, by the way, which just is coming out or has just come out. So Norma, if you don't mind, post a link of your book in this area around putting customers in the center, putting partners who are delivering the customer experience alongside with you, front and center, the direct experience. And what's amazing is that it has resulted in change in behavior while you're selling the deal as well. People are positioning CX even ahead in the deal cycle before they close, and a significant part of that customer experience and also partner profitability. Dave, you have any points to add around when CX should be positioned in the deal cycle, for example.
You hit the nail on the head. I think all of us in technology realize very quickly that what we're talking about now, positioning customer experience, before the deal is closed, is the new challenge that our sales force feels, right? There'll be something different 5 years from now. And what I mean by that is, probably 15 years ago, it was like, hey, you got to bring the finance guys in to make sure that we give them options before we close the deal. And the field would go, no, don't slow my deal down. Then it becomes, hey, we got to really position our services before we close the deal. No, don't slow my deal down. We'll engage you afterwards. Now it's customer experience. No, don't slow my deal down. We'll engage you afterwards. In 5 years, it'll be something altogether differently, right? That is the perpetual battle and the cultural shift that we've got to have within sales. Now, I understand it greatly. I get it. I totally understand. But, again, I think that this is where, if we look at what Matt was talking about, how do we monetize? How do we differentiate? How do I ensure that I am setting proper expectations? The best-in-class partners, best-in-class sellers do that. They do that early on. They do that before the deal is closed. And I think that is the maturity model that all of us have to kind of overcome. And again, today it's customer experience. Tomorrow it's going to be something altogether different. We're always going to have the field saying, don't disrupt or slow down my deal. I think as we get people in the field to understand that, look, you could actually position the value of what the client's trying to achieve early. That way we're all set up for success and we could actually achieve that. Isn't that a good thing? Of course it is. So when people like Matt build that into the framework of how they go to market and they get champions out in the field, which they're doing, right? They have done, where sellers in the field go, I get it. This is not a barrier to slow my deal down. In fact, this is going to accelerate value realization for me to my client. And then they start to kind of evangelize that with their teams and leadership. That's when we start making the move. I think the other thing that is important to talk about is not only that kind of fear of involving adjacent resources into their deal. The other part of it's compensation, right? You could do one thing, but if your compensation is really tied in a very legacy way where you only get paid when you book something, right? And that's all their one-dimensional way of paying people, then you're going to always have this. We're talking about, we want you to do one thing, but we're paying you something altogether differently. So I think that, that has been a big key learning, is not only do we have to break down that barrier to get people to understand the why, to bring in resources before, to have a shot at, actually monetizing. No customer in the world likes change orders, right? No one. So the whole notion of, I'll figure out how to monetize this after the fact never happens, or you're just going to irritate a client. So the monetization part is important. But the other part is there's got to be direct alignment in how you pay people. There's not alignment of how you're paying people, then you've got a problem, right? You could do all this great stuff up front, but you're not going to get really the buy-in that you need to. Therefore, the behavior won't change. Those things need to be aligned and thought through. And the third part of that is executive leadership, right? We need the executive leadership to tell and drive the vision to the field to make sure you understand that. When you've got those three angles kind of covered, man, you can really accelerate. But if you've got parts of that missing or competing with one another, then you're really stuck. You've got to go one by one, getting people to evangelize for you. It will get done, but it's a much harder and longer path.
Wow. So let's pivot to the challenges part of the older approach versus what you've done with Cisco Partner Funds now. So we are in an amazing time in history now. Cisco has transformed to a software-led model. Matt and Presidio have put customer in the center, locked arms with Cisco. Partners are driving the customer experience together. There's this vision to kind of think about partner profitability, but also customer experience, value points or pit stops across the journey. So there's a lot going on there in terms of vision and ambition to do something. But you had a previous way of doing things, Dave and Matt. Can you describe some of the challenges that you had as you had this amazing vision, but some lack of tools in existing processes that you faced?
Yeah, let me start, and I definitely want Matt to weigh in on his experience, particularly in the early days. When we talked a little bit about PXP earlier, I think it's important to note that we had a lot of different disparate systems that are out there. And one of the challenges that we had, again, back to this early alignment thing, that we had this great program that was built, right? And industry really recognized how great the thought leadership that Cisco had. But the reality is we built something that was really before tools were really capable in supporting it. And one of the biggest issues we were having is not only that sales alignment we talked about, don't bug me, don't slow my deal down. So now we've got partners that have built practices, they understand what they need to do, but they're lacking visibility into opportunities that are coming down, right? And we didn't make it easy for our partners trying to figure out what are the bookings, what are the opportunities, how can I leverage the program? In fact, it was the bane of my existence for a while because partners would really come to us and say, Dave, I really like your program, but I don't understand how to get started. I can't get single source of truth on what booking qualifies. And I'd tell them, well, go to this platform. And they go, yeah, that platform's really hard to work with. And it was. And then we had people like Matt building kind of homegrown tools or maybe even outsourcing to a third-party vendor on how they could actually get visibility and earlier insights into engagements to get started earlier. So one of the things we really struggled with for many years was that problem. Here we were talking about, hey, early align, change your comp plan, get executive leadership, those 3 pillars, surround the customer with why this matters to them. Yeah, everybody agreed with that, but how do you do it? Like, how do I get there? How do I know that the sales organization sold something that I could jump on quickly? Now, ideally, right, motherhood apple pie, Matt's team and partners like them, they've got visibility on things that are closing before, and they do. The problem is they didn't know exactly how that would actually be eligible for the program that we built, right? So one of the challenges we had was that gap. And what we have really evolved with the help of WorkSpan fundamentally is helping take all these disparate tools that weren't very partner friendly, right? And a lot of bad words said by me over the years about those tools. But the reality is, as part of our overall investment and with partnership with you guys, we've been able to kind of think about that from a more end-to-end experience from the partner point of view. So what we've rolled out with Funds Manager that sits underneath this overall PXP platform experience is really an ability for partners to go into this platform, see their opportunities, and from literally one click of a button, the partner really can start what we call the lifecycle journey, which would then automate and populate everything that the partner needs to go do, giving them more visibility than ever before into what qualifies, what they've started, what they owe, what they've maybe let sit on the table and expire. And I think we did it right. And I'll tell you why I think we did it right. Because we've gone from partners yelling at us to, I don't even know how to start. What do I qualify? To, you've overwhelmed us with so much information. I don't know what the best thing to do is, right? So I think we've done the right thing by really shining a spotlight on all of the opportunity. And WorkSpan's really done a great job helping us think about, how do we mine that data through reporting? How do we mine that data through dashboards to give partners really actionable insights on what to focus on? So we've gone from literally great program with poor tools to support to great program with great tool to support, even over rotating with the level of data, to now where we're thinking about, well, how do we use the robust reporting capabilities out of this platform to really help the partner hone in on what they care about?
Yeah. Fantastic, Dave, for the journey. Matt, I want to get your perspective on this. What did it feel like in the early days, the pain that you had, and how does it help you now?
Dave hit the nail on the head with, we have a portal for everything. And he's right. Every bit of information that we ever needed as a partner was out there, but it was out there in many, many, many different places. And each owner of that set of data had a very specific lens on how to access it, how to find a customer, one particular key on how to dive into the important data within their tool. Their tool didn't talk to other people's tool, which definitely didn't talk to our bookings data, which definitely, and one of the spots where our team and our CSMs just truly are amazing is their ability to tie a customer who has to find, whether it's consumption data, do I have licenses? Do I have invoices? All of the questions that give that magical experience to our customers that they should never have to see the mechanics on the back end. That's where our CSMs, our teams just over the years, and especially in the beginning, spent most of their time finding all of the right pieces in the right spots, putting them together and giving it to the customer like none of that existed whatsoever, to a nice, seamless, and a beautiful onboarding process. It was magical to our customers, and something that was one of the big pillars, as Dave talked about, don't slow down my deal. These extra services, we need to move them off. Why do we need to have these services there? To customers starting to see what the experience was like with our team on versus what the experience was like without. And even in the beginning, if a Cisco account team member or a Presidio account team member or a customer, we've had all of those scenarios where they did not think that adding these CX services to the land motion was the right thing to do at the time. Don't slow my deal down. Heard that a million times, whatever the reason might be. We now have this concept of what I call the Lindsay skew, which is where today we have the customer coming back to us and going, or a Cisco account team member coming to us, or a Presidio account team member. I know you went over the extreme value proposition that Lifecycle and CX brought to my EA, and I should have been listening better. But now that I've seen how it worked on my security EA, I need the Lindsay skew. I need your team member on all the rest of my EAs, whatever it takes. And that's where it's really evolved to today of our repeat customers and the proof of what we've been able to deliver, having them coming back to say, all right, I may not have been paying attention, but the outcome was amazing when we applied the person. I need that on every deal. Now to get there in the early days, Dave is right. We have an amazing team member on our team named Dan Stevens, and he is a data genius. And without him, truthfully, we would never be as far as we are today. And he literally, every time that Mr. Scalini would make a change in the program or a skew, any change at all, Dan had to have a point in time set of rules, and he built out all of our reporting for eligibility. So that was one of the hardest parts in the old system, was with, all right, we've sold all of these deals. We have the potential for additional profitability via the LCI program. How do I know how much it's going to be worth? How do I know if it's even eligible? Thanks to Dan, we built all that, and we were able to bring that into WorkSpan, or not with WorkSpan, I'm sorry, within Gainsight, which is our CSM tool that we use. To be honest with you, it wasn't 100% accurate. And even if we wanted to check if our work was correct or not, there was no place to go to see if it was eligible, other than to call Dave and say, we think this one's good. Can you check on it for me? Yeah. So it was a big evolution moving into today. And one of the biggest pillars of success for our CSM team is having the right customer data when we need it and where we need it. So the consolidation that Dave talked about in PXP, plus the addition of WorkSpan. So having the data in WorkSpan is a huge help to LCI, right? Being able to pull that data reliably via API into our tool that our CSMs use every day, that's game changing. And now having a source of truth where I can go in and talk to a Presidio account manager and say, all right, I can say for sure, based upon what's available to me, that your booking of X if we were to do these activities, has the potential of getting us Y additional profitability. Wow. Never had that before. It was huge. And having the tool has been a huge, just A, to check our work, B, to get that data around the program and be able to automatically deliver it into our customer profiles as well, to then measure against how are we performing, against to that profitability for our customers. Game changing.
Absolutely. Yeah, let me summarize and kind of give audience a quick preview of what it looks like from a transformation point of view. So as Dave was describing, PXP, number of different tools to do different things: check eligibility, find which deals are eligible and not, which partners are eligible or not, then opt in and do something. A different tool to then again drive incentives around it, like a puzzle pieces that a partner had to pull together first. And then full credit to Jose and team at PXP driving consolidation of tools and reducing from hundreds of tools down to a couple of dozen. Uh, that simplification that came in gave you a plan, gave every partner, and I believe there are thousands of partners today. And Dave, you guys have shared, and partners have shared, and you have shared hundreds of thousands of deals today digitally on the platform, down to SKU levels, where you can see whether a particular SKU qualifies for a given incentive, where you can actually, with one click of a button, literally opt in and say, yeah, I'm coming along the customer lifecycle on this. And it makes the entire journey down to just a few clicks, one to opt in and one to basically claim your incentive along the way. So I'm visually describing a few screens in the new PXP Funds app experience, but essentially it has simplified the partner experience. You know exactly which deals you're collaborating on, which deals you have opted in, which offers, which SKUs, whether it's Cisco WebEx or security products, where you are kind of optimizing the customer experience. Dave or Matt, any points to add around this new experience that I missed?
Yeah, I just want to add one point. I want to highlight a little bit about, again, why early alignment matters so much, because I think that, the platform that, WorkSpan did a great job helping us develop and execute on is really step one. And it was really overdue, as Matt indicated, right? Like Matt said it perfectly. We had all that data there, but it was in different shapes and different careabouts and different points of view of what the individual that built that capability and their vision of what they wanted someone to consume, right? And it was very problematic because partners like Presidio and Matt were stuck with the burden of, how do I interpret this? Not only do I have to go and figure out how do I consume all this, but I got to look at it differently depending on whoever designed the thing. But the way I look at this is the platform that you guys helped us develop in PXP was several years later than we desired, right? But the important thing is it's there. The other important thing is we're not stopping there, because if we don't solve for the alignment issue, then we're always going to be perpetually late for engagement. We're always going to be perpetually giving partners an opportunity not to really monetize their engagement. So one of the things that we're really excited about is not just stopping with our investment now, but really continuing that investment into earlier in the sales cycle, to where we actually integrate things into funnel management, right? Where we integrate things into other investments within Cisco around our customer success journey, how those organizations are looking at the client. If we stop only with what we're doing right now, while I love the fact that Matt says it's game changing, it is. I agree with that, with the vision that we've developed, and I'm delighted to hear him say that. We can't stop there. We got to keep working on connecting it to other parts of the company so our partners can engage earlier. They have a fighting chance to monetize and position their service to differentiate themselves, drive value to the client, monetize, right? Before it's even in a deal that's been booked, where you could participate in the program. And then also in an adjacent way, making sure that other parts of our organization that are driving customer success, we've got information flowing into the platform that helps that overall customer experience. So that would be the only thing that I would suggest, is that while I'm proud of where we are today, part of me candidly looks at it and goes, we should have been there years ago. And now we got to do all the other things to really engage around that client experience earlier, right? And that's still the mission we're on.
And Dave, it's been a real joy working with an innovator like yourself and Matt. So thank you for that vision. I would actually pause you there and talk a little bit about and give you the space to talk about the future a bit. So as you're looking into LCI 2.0, you're bringing in really fresh concepts of engaging early, but also telemetry of
Yep.
data. Can you speak a little bit about that vision that you have around this?
Oh, telemetry, my favorite topic. Everyone gets so nervous around telemetry. I want to kind of comment a little bit about another area that was very difficult for our partners in the early days of our program. And you got to think about it, right? Every technology looks at things different. They've got a different maturity level, different problems we're trying to solve.
Mhm.
For example, in our collab business, it's been recurring revenue for a long time before Cisco even acquired WebEx, right? And seeing the reality of acquiring a company and shifting it to CapEx and then moving it back to recurring. Matt, you remember those days?
Oh,
These have been kind of interesting things that we've had to deal with, right? But I think one of the things that we're looking at is where are we with every part of our technology? And similar to challenges like, well, do we have a platform that even gives a simplified way of a partner understanding the opportunity? We had a major problem in scale where in our lifecycle incentives, evolution, it's been, well, partners got to upload a proof of performance. Well, what does that upload look like? What is that proof of performance? Well, it might be different for technology A versus technology B. It could literally be a screenshot from a tool. It could be a document that Presidio writes that a human being needs to read. And while that makes a lot of sense for the early days of customer success and the early days of where we were in the program, it doesn't really work well for scale. It doesn't really work well for simplicity. So where we're really trying to evolve our program now that we've got this platform funds manager, it's now time for us to evolve the program to where we can rely on Cisco data around how that technology is being consumed. So there's been a lot of investment that Cisco's made around formalizing solutions, what we call use cases, formalizing what we view as success along the client journey, and making sure that when we look at, okay, you bought it and you're implementing it and now you're turning it on and now you're using it, we're really measuring all those steps through telemetry. Now, I mentioned telemetry being, a topic. It's almost like the third rail, right? Because you get into data privacy, you get into paranoia about it. And I always joke with people like, hey, when Outlook or Word or Excel crashes, no offense to my friends at Microsoft, I always get a pop-up that says, hey, do you want to report it? 9 times out of 10, I say no. Why? Because I don't know where that information is going, and everybody's paranoid about that, right? But the reality is, part of our journey is that we want to make sure that we're helping, we're getting information from our products and services that are out there so that we can actually scale and streamline how partners prove their proof of performance. They could get paid faster, right? Versus relying on very manual screenshot proof of performance uploads. So we want to pivot that direction. And that's really kind of the core around what we're doing with our evolution of lifecycle incentives. Now, that being said, part of what we've got to educate, including ourselves, is why is telemetry important? Why is it important to the customer? Why is it important to the partner? How do those insights help the partner actually drive value and potential revenue opportunities, and ability to differentiate themselves with actionable insights? All around that sphere of paranoia of what is this data? How is Cisco using that data? How are partners using that data? What information is being shared? How does that live within legal agreements? All that stuff, there's got to be a lot of demystification, if you will, around that topic. But in terms of how we're evolving, it's all about simplicity and scale. And how do we drive, how do we lessen the burden of a partner from having to upload a screenshot into a document and make it more around scale and getting data that actually proves that Presidio did something that is something that would generate an incentive. That's how we're evolving the program.
That's massive vision. So instead of relying on screenshots and manual proof of performance measures, using data itself from usage. So did the product go live? Did we get X number of users? Did we renew across the entire life cycle journey? There is information here. And plugging that in kind of eliminates a lot of manual work as well, right? And takes away all the manual approval processes associated with it, leads to faster partner profitability as well. Matt, what are your reflections on this topic?
I mean, what I would say is that without WorkSpan implemented into Funds Manager and as part of the tool and part of this program's process, there's no way we could have moved forward. There's no way. The fact that it's in Funds Manager, like I said before, is great. But the fact that I can now we have APIs tying into Funds Manager and bringing it back to where my users are working within Gainsight, I can now manage effectively our huge customer base, because Dave kept saying scale. Scale is one of my biggest concerns. So when we have tens of thousands of subscriptions, literally tens of thousands of customer subscriptions that we manage as a company here at Presidio, and at any time, any one of those could become eligible based upon a transaction or a true forward or all these different things, or an expansion from one of our team members could become eligible. Finding that needle in the haystack to make sure that we're doing that right action. You talk about having to go back to WorkSpan and clicking a button. These programs have rules and timelines. And if we don't click the buttons at the right time, or we don't submit something the right time, we could lose out on additional funding. And that's a big deal. Having the API tie into everything that's available allows me to get prompted. Hey, CSM A, customer X, now has this opportunity. Let's make sure that we deliver this call to action, these sets of plays to execute against this customer to go after this additional profitability. Amazing automation that before was spreadsheet driven. And again, to your manual piece, was very difficult. Also, by taking advantage of telemetry data throughout Cisco that we have access to, we're able to, within a single customer, look at consumption data against LCI and know when we hit those triggerable events to shoot up an alarm to say, hey, you need to go make a claim, one of those clicks that Dave was talking about. We're, along with, I'm sure, every partner that's on the call, we're very heavily invested in understanding how LCI 2.0 is going to work, and working with Dave and team on this new gated journey of how we walk the life cycle with our customers. And without WorkSpan and the ability to tell us and to prompt us when we hit certain gates, or if we're stuck at a certain position within that use case, that maybe we need to go and apply these playbooks. Maybe we need to go figure out what's going on and alert us so we can do a lot more with a lot less people on our team, which has been really great.
Yeah.
It's been a great journey.
Matt, thank you for saying that. And we were literally very excited. Our WorkSpan reporting layer has an API where you can take data on opportunities, bookings, telemetry, anything to your CX practice. But we had literally never done that before. Kudos to you. And Dan, you were the first team that actually wanted to connect WorkSpan with your Gainsight or with your CX tools in process. You asked to be the first on the block, and literally our engineering teams got together. So we had goosebumps and excitement around finally connecting a partner experience tool with a CX tool. Literally one of the first ones in the industry. So Nick at Gainsight, if you're hearing this is just awesome. Matt, describe the experience from your side. How difficult or easy was it to consume our API and ingest it into yours?
For me, it was all magic. I understand. I am the wonderful recipient of its outcomes, but for Dan and for the team, and we work, again, that massaging of data, we still have to go to many places. And when I say many places, I'm not just talking about Cisco. Internally, our bookings data looks very, very different than how it's presented from Cisco. So to tie all those pieces together, that's a lot of the magic that has to happen to give you one uniform lens of the customer. But the addition of the WorkSpan API, it was very, very straightforward. So as long as the team that's working in WorkSpan understands the reports and how to deal with the reports in WorkSpan, and if you view that as your consumption capability, then you have the ability, then you can, and you know how to deal with that report. If you're going to export it and put it in Excel and then drop it into your next tool, the APIs function very much in a similar way. And again, with your assistance, we've had no problem putting it into full production. It has definitely been very strong event driven, allowing us to, again, capture opportunity. I would like to say we have a perfect hit rate we'd never miss, but I'm very confident that we have much more accuracy in our ability to go after funds because of it.
Yeah. All right. Massive. I'll ask one last question, and there are 5 or 6 questions waiting from the audience. So I'll dive into them quickly. What advice would you have for anybody going along this brave journey? So Dave, Matt, a few points of advice for people who want to take this journey.
Run, don't do it. There is a lot more available today. We talked about having a blank sheet of paper when we started. We now have seen Cisco has a lot of amazing workshops. They're willing to do some amazing executive workshops with partners to really bring them along and give them access and tools and ideas of how to build the teams internally. We were lucky enough to get some of those early on. Now, granted, the information of those early ones are definitely not how we've evolved, but my understanding is that it's been re-released by Cisco, and those partner workshops have been pretty effective. Also, what Dave touched on is getting buy-in. If I did not have the support and buy-in from my very top of executive leadership, I have from sales, I have from our team, there is no way we would have been successful at all, because the Field of Dreams approach, which was kind of the original thought of how this was going to work. If you build it, the customers will come flocking into you. It absolutely will happen. Definitely will not. And you need to have full buy-in with their support and their metrics. And then, of course, Dave hit the other huge one, which is comp is king. Know how your efforts in this silo around customer experience affects someone's compensation. Because if it looks like I can't live without it, and the concept of the Lindsay skew, that's important. And then also by driving this, it impacts me in a positive way. Super beneficial.
Very helpful. Dave?
My quick answer on that, Amit, is if you're going to build this, build it like a profit center. Don't build it like, oh, I'm doing it because there's an incentive out there, right? The incentive will never be enough ever. There's always going to be an issue, right? No matter what, right? If you build it like a profit center and thinking of it like a profit center, it's going to force you to align earlier where you're driving and monetizing services. So that's the one piece of advice that I would think is, if you're thinking of it that way, you will accelerate to early alignment, which is critical for customer success.
Yeah. Awesome, Dave. There are a lot of questions, so let's do rapid fire on these. Keep answers brief. So Christine is asking, you're already probably going there. How does the partner actually engage with PXP in driving joint selling and joint adoption?
Yeah, so I think there's a push-pull model there. Just a quick answer would be that PXP is giving a lot of data that's giving insights, which could be leveraged in a practice maturity point of view, and also understanding the if-then statements. If I do this, what would happen, right? If I make changes. So that's kind of one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is what I talked to, which is how do we give earlier actionable insights into deals so you can align earlier. And that's kind of where we want to keep pushing with the constant evolution in investment.
Absolutely. And Christine, I'll point you to another webinar we had done with Nick Holden and Akbar from Cisco around co-selling in particular, especially digital co-sell along with resellers and ISVs. Take a look into that video. We'll put it in the chat as well. So Kevin, if you can source that EBS recording for Christine, that'll be a good one as well. Alistair is asking, will partners have to pay for CX telemetry from Cisco to support the lifecycle model?
No, At a basic level, no. We are going to be providing within the lifecycle incentives through our fund manager platform an ability to understand whether the partner has met the program requirements in terms of being able to earn in the program.
Fantastic. Ryan is asking, are there conversations being had around funds manager to the SPI use case journey data? Maybe Dave, you could talk about what is SPI, because there's a 3-letter acronym there.
Yeah, it stands for Success Program Insights. It's a capability inside a platform called Lifecycle Advantage. This is another part of Cisco investment. It's a tool within the customer experience practice within Cisco. And the answer to that is we are going to be leveraging Cisco data to understand whether a customer use case partner combination has met through the lifecycle stages to earn the incentive. That data is all one and the same, meaning that data will be flowing that you guys are helping us with into Funds Manager to help understand binary yes, no. Did you move past the exit criteria? There's also much more rich information that can be derived out of the Lifecycle Advantage platform or Control Hub, which is a different platform within Cisco for our collaboration offers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Amit, I would comment on this one. This is something we're extremely interested in as well,
Sure.
Especially going into Lifecycle 2.0. As we said, those gates to pass. Cisco did a really good job within the SPY tool of defining activities that could potentially help your customer get past those barriers, or just even knowing what it is you need to do to move next. The good news is that with integration into your own tools, you can, as we implement 2.0, we hit those barriers, we hit those next spots, we can then currently link back into the SPY tool within Lifecycle Advantage. What I'm looking forward to in the future, and we're driving like heck, and I hope everyone on the call is driving like heck, is to get that information from SPY available via API, similar to as we do with other tools, and allow those playbooks or those action items that get updated in SPY to be pushed into our platform so that we can then deliver them to the people who, in a timely manner, the people who need to execute on those to get past those gates in the new program.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big one.
Awesome. Ryan is again asking, generally speaking, are there partners finding it easier to gather direct data via Cisco API or third party that aggregates it for API consumption? I think, Matt, you already answered that API question specific to Funds app.
Funds Manager, yay. I will tell you you need to work with each group that owns their set of data, and they may have a little bit of a different way of viewing it and allowing you to have access to it. So it is not a one answer. It is a per place that you're trying to get to data may have a completely different experience than, for example, working with you, Amit, within Funds Manager. So it's building those, it's getting your Cisco resources, getting Dave and whoever to help you build relationships with the team to get that access, and then understanding their lens on that data for you to be able to consume. It's not a one size fits all. And thus, Dave's PXP comments, the more we consolidate into one spot, if we already have a tie into there, that starts eliminating these other, again, these complexities that we have to add into our business just to get that single lens on a customer's consumption and data and useful information to drive outcomes.
Yeah, we'll take 2 more questions. So if folks can extend for 2 more minutes, I know we are just hitting up on time here. So Diana is asking, can you elaborate on the specific CX initiatives that Cisco and Presidio have implemented to enhance lifecycle? Could be related to offers or joint offerings she's mentioning. So maybe WebEx versus security, perhaps in that direction. Or take it anyway, Dave or Matt, you want to take this?
So
Matt, why don't you go and talk a little bit about your practice?
So the desire to have a service that can be delivered from a partner that is a packaged or included as part of a Cisco deal and on Cisco paper is something that we've talked about since the very beginning of this program, and it is very hard to do. And that is the ideal thing we would love to see in the future, and would love other partners as well to help drive that, because it removes all, back to the compensation issue, it removes any questions of comp for our Cisco team, and our team gets paid on it as well. Today, what we have to do is exactly what Dave brought up, which is get in as early as possible. Because the initial idea of going back to the customer to say, oh, now that you've just finished your purchase of your X $1 million enterprise agreement to deliver these amazing technologies, now we need to talk to you a little bit about adding additional services to help you drive to your business outcomes and consumption faster than you would have before. Customers look at you and say, no, I'm pretty sure we just bought the deal. Let's get it going now. Why do we need these services later? And where our alignment with Cisco is most important is in that early phase to get in and talk about what those outcomes are, position our services as part of the land and not to try to go back later in the deal.
Dave?
Yeah, I would only add that, Cisco is a partner-led organization. We really want our partners to drive and differentiate their capability. At the same time, Cisco is trying to determine where does Cisco lead in partner support, where does partner lead Cisco support. But the hard truth and reality is that we have mutually way more customers and engagements that anyone could possibly cover in a high touch model, right? The journey over time will be how companies shift to digital experiences, low touch experiences, and no one's there yet, right? So I think part of the challenge we all mutually have is how do we cover more customers, right? And everyone's going to fight over those top customers while we're all ignoring the customers in the middle, while we're all not touching the customers that might be lower touch that we need to cover with digital. So I think we're trying to evolve with how do we have offerings that partners can resell? How do we have offerings that cover down market? That will be the thing we continue to go through. But I think it would be fair to say right now that, no one's got this fully mapped out, but we're a partner-led organization and we're trying to figure out how to do that without conflict, right? At the same time, driving and touching as many customers as possible.
Awesome. Matt is asking, will APIs be available to retrieve data from PXP Funds Manager to own backend systems like Salesforce? I think I'll answer that. Yes, that's available. Matt is already one of the first ones who've tried this. You can. And then the last one, Jonathan, you're asking, will you be developing the ability to filter signal from noise? Right now, there's a potential to be overwhelmed with information. I think, Dave, you touched on this, where an opportunity is potentially eligible for a lot of activities, but really need to hone down. So I think we have some exciting update for the team in the next release. So Dave, why don't you talk about this?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, absolutely. I think we have covered the reality that we have rotated to provide a ton of information, and now we're trying to help partners filter that through reporting.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can opt into the right activities as well. With that, what an engaging conversation. It was. It covered all the way from strategy down to why this change is important, why this transformation, to actually how to operationalize it, managing change and transformation with data. I can't thank you enough, Matt and Dave, for taking our audience through this. You won't believe this. We had a sustained audience of 150 plus people on the call listening to you guys. And thank you for staying longer to answer their questions as well. I really appreciate it.
No, this was my pleasure. I appreciate you having us on, and I appreciate, again, the hard work from the team that we are very excited to take the benefits of.
Thank you so much. Yeah, in case you folks are interested in a demo of this thing, here's a quick QR code and a link in our chat. So just simply ask us. We are here to help you as well, and look forward to engaging more with you. With that, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.